Hello there, snowflakes. Welcome to part 2 of the 1961 Polaris Sno-Traveler restoration. Today we are going to focus on the tear down and rebuild of the drive section. As you can see, everything was extremely rusty and seized together, so it took quite a bit of cutting with the grinder and hammering and penetrating oil and patience just to get everything to come apart. The first area that I focused on was the track. The grouser bars were quite beat up and mangled just from years of use, and the chain was seized. So after getting it separated, what I did was I used a wrench to try to straighten out the bars before they came off of the chain. Once the bars were reasonably straight, then I went about removing them from the chain. I used an air chisel for this, as well as a hammer. Rubber inserts were added to the bars to prevent them from wearing out any further than they were, and I think maybe a little bit softer ride. At this point, the bars had been repaired and welded and were ready for a shot of paint. I used an agricultural industrial enamel finish in silver. To assemble the track, I used solid rivets instead of the original huck bolts because I wasn't prepared to buy a huck bolting tool. And the rivets are fairly inexpensive and they hold quite well. So I made a little fixture to hold the chain and the bars together along with the rivets, and then I'm technically riveting them together incorrectly. The bucking bar should be going on the other side of the rivet, but for this it's I think it'll be just fine. Once the track was done, I just started randomly fixing whatever was broken or trying to replace whatever was broken. There was no certain order that I did anything. I just go out in the garage and grab one thing and fix it and just continue. secondary was seized so bad onto the shaft that I had to put it in the lathe and drill out the shaft and then actually chisel out what was left. After that, it wasn't too bad to take apart. It was pretty seized, like the pins and stuff were seized, but I managed to get it apart and cleaned everything up and put it back together. It's not perfect. I hope it holds up. I don't know. We'll see how that goes. Along the way, someone had torched out a big old plate and welded it onto the tunnel, obviously for a different engine. So it took a fair bit of cutting and grinding to get that plate off. And then my buddy Darren managed to sandblast a whole bunch of the parts for me, so they were nice and clean, and I could go back and weld in any pieces that needed repair. The tunnel wasn't in bad shape at all, actually. There were a few repairs here and there, but overall went really well. I threw some paint on, and then one day I was at a surplus store and I found a bugler paint striper. So that's what I used to put the stripes back onto the machine. I think it turned out not bad. It's not perfect. For the slides, I went down to the local lumber yard and I picked up a big piece of maple. And then I borrowed Gravy's table saw and I did my best to reproduce the slides using the couple that I had remaining. Then I test soaked a piece in some 2-cycle oil, and I folded them all up in some poly and I let them sit for a few weeks. And then I took them out and I pressed some fasteners into them and attached it to the tunnel. Overall, I'd say it was a success. It turned out quite well. Well, that's about it. I managed to get the track back in and flipped over, and I started hooking up the drive components, and I've set the engine on. Everything went pretty smooth. There were a few little hiccups, but some of the guys on the Facebook page pointed me in the right direction and gave me some help. Princess Auto gave me a lot of help with some parts and stuff, and Amazon, and that's it. The drive section is finished. I'm hoping to get the cab finished this spring, have it back on the snow next fall. Don't hold me to that. I got other things that I like to do as well. So thank you for watching. It's been kind of a journey. I know it's been slow, but that's the way she goes, bub.